Hi everyone, and welcome to today's product demo webinar where we'll be showcasing the essential features to get started with Monday.com. My name is Danny and I'm a customer success advocate here at Monday.com. Thank you all for joining me. And this webinar is going to be broken down into two parts. So in the first half, we're going to be doing a live walkthrough of the core features of the platform and building a board together. You can see the agenda here. So some of the things that we're going to cover, we're going to talk about the boards, column types, how to organize your account, communicating with your team, and then we'll talk about resources and how you can get in touch with us. And just so you know, this is the first in a series of webinars, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's briefly talk about what is Monday.com. So Monday.com is a work OS, which is a system where you can manage all of your work throughout your organization. It's our goal to make running, tracking, and planning projects and tasks easier and more fun. And what does that mean for you and your team? Well, it means that you have a platform built to empower your team and your company to work better, communicate easier, and make progress together. And as you'll see in this walkthrough, we are all about transparency and accountability here at Monday.com. We want to make your team able to spend less time bogged down in email chains and more time focusing on what really matters. And with clients across all industries, from marketing to logistics, we're confident that you'll find a way to improve your workflow with Monday.com. And I hope this webinar is going to give you some inspiration to get started. And like I said, before we jump in and we take a look at building a board together, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more information about our webinars. Like I said, this is the first of a three-part series. After this webinar, please feel free to check out our intermediate product demo and our advanced product demo. They're going to pick up exactly where this one leaves off. And the board that we're building today is going to form part of a full workflow that you'll be able to see come together throughout the webinar series. It's a really great way to become a Monday.com pro and get to know all of the main features that you're going to need to create your own workflow. So let's go ahead and jump on into my Monday account. And just so you know, each month's walkthrough will focus on a different use case for all three of the webinars in the series. For this month, we've chosen a creative agency as our example. Now, don't worry if your work has nothing to do with creative agencies. All of the principles and the features that you'll learn about in these webinars can be transferred to your own workflows. In this webinar, we are going to focus on just one board, and that's the board that you can see here. So let's talk about what are boards. Well, boards are the heart and the soul of the Monday.com platform. Think of it as a virtual whiteboard that you can use to track and organize all different types of information. So the board that we're looking at today is the project level board, and that shows all of the tasks that we want to complete for one project. And you can see that we have this project here. So when it comes to creating a board, there are a couple of different ways that we can go about this. We can create a blank board, which will give us a board from scratch. We can create a board from a template, which we'll have a look at. So you can see these are our most popular templates. And if we click here, we can see our template center. Along the left-hand side, you're going to see that we have these organized by industry. So if you want a little bit of a framework to get started, these are a great place to start. And I really encourage you to check them out. And then the other way that we can create a board is by importing data. So if you already have information in Excel or Google Sheets, anything like that, you can import it straight into Monday and create a board from there. But today we are going to start from scratch, so we can go ahead and pick a blank board. Now you'll see that when we go to create our board, we have three different options for our board type. We can create a main board, and these are going to be visible to all of our team members. We can create a private board, and that's going to be only visible to the people that we invite. That means it's perfect for sensitive information like finances or budgets. And lastly, we have our shareable boards. and shareable boards can be shared with guests outside of our organization, such as contractors or freelancers. So today, because we're going to be working with freelancers on our board, we are going to go ahead and pick a shareable board, and you'll see that come back into play in the intermediate webinar. But for now, let's go ahead and let's give our board a name. So we're going to call it the Surf School Social Media 2020, and let's go and create it. Great, and you'll see that underneath our board name, we have the ability to add a board description. This is where we can tell our team how to use the board so that everyone is on the same page. So let's go ahead and add that in. And great, now we have a board description. You'll see that when we open up our board, we have two groups on the board by default. Now, like boards, groups can be used for absolutely anything. In this example, we're creating a marketing project board. So my groups are going to be the different stages of my marketing campaign. So we're going to have planning, development, and then we need one more group. So we're going to go and add that in, and this is going to be our launch phase. And we can drag and drop that down to put it into the right order. Great. So now you can see that inside of each group, we have items, and items can also be anything you want them to be. So they could be a task, a social media post, a client. They are a row that sits within your board. And again, going back to today's use case, each item will be a different task that we need to complete for our campaign. So let's go ahead and let's add in an initial meeting. And then we will create our marketing brief. And the last stage in our planning phase is to confirm the budget. In development, we're going to want to make our marketing assets and have a final review. And when it comes to launch, we need to launch our campaign, of course. And we'll have another review meeting at the end. Perfect. We've also recently added in a new feature called subitems, and you can add a subitem easily by selecting them here. Subitems are going to give us the ability to add an additional level of hierarchy and granularity to our workflow. We'll use these to add in smaller goals that we need to achieve to complete each task. So we're going to list all of the marketing assets that we need to create. So we'll have a Facebook banner and an Instagram story. Great. Now that we understand the board hierarchy, let's take a look at the columns. So as you can see, our board has lots of different columns for recording different types of information. We have lots and lots of different column types. Today, we're just going to focus on the 7 core columns. And you can find the 7 core columns here by this plus symbol, and you'll see that we have the 7 here. We also have a lot more column options, which you can find here. Lots and lots of different things. I encourage you guys to take a look at them, but they will be covered in a lot more detail in our intermediate and advanced webinars. So the 7 core columns are the basic building blocks of any Monday.com account, any Monday.com board. Columns are what allow you to bring your board to life, and you should think when building your board what sort of data you want to show, and then add the columns to match the data types. So what do we want to achieve with this board? We will use this board to manage one marketing campaign for our agency, and you can think of a campaign as just like any other project. So we'll be using a board like the one that we build today to manage every campaign and project. Each task is going to have similar types of information that we'll want to track. And for this, we can add in columns. So let's start taking a look at some of our columns and adding them into our board. If we start with the columns that we already have, and let's take a look at our people column. This allows us to assign different people in our team to tasks. Now, as we have a shareable board, currently I'm the only person on the board. So let's go ahead and invite the rest of our team. so that we can collaborate together. And let's start inviting them to our board. And all we need to do is click and assign them to tasks. This is going to notify them that they have something new to check out, and they're going to get notified within the platform. They're also going to get notified via email, and if they have the mobile app, they're going to receive a push notification too. And we can also notify multiple people. So if the initial meeting was for myself and Ron, I can tag both of us. We can even tag teams, and we can find those by searching for them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about teams later. And this is going to keep everyone on the same page, increase transparency and accountability. It means that everyone knows exactly what they need to do and who's responsible for every aspect of the project. Like I said, as we're using a shareable board, we can also invite guests and freelancers from outside of our account to join the board and collaborate with us too. So now we've taken a look at our people column, let's go ahead and look at our status column. And this works by giving us a list of customizable colored labels. Most traditionally, it's used to show the status of items on the board, and that's what we're going to use it for today. But you can also use it for anything else that you want. So you might want this to show priority of each task or to categorize tasks into different types. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and add in the statuses for each of my tasks. Great. So now that we have our status column, let's move over to the next column that we can see, and that is our date column. So we're going to use this to assign a date that each of the tasks on our board needs to be complete. You can use this, of course, to show any other date that's related to the items on your board. But for today, this is what we're going to be using it for. So let's go ahead and start adding in some deadlines. And we can simply click and select the date that we would like. And let's just finish that off. Great. Now all of our tasks have dates. Again, it goes back to that transparency and that accountability that we're talking about. And actually, now that we have these columns filled out, we can do something really cool. And we can connect the date and the status column. And we do that by selecting this down arrow and then selecting Set as Deadline. So all we need to do is just pick our relevant columns and connect them. Now we can instantly see at a glance if something is running behind schedule or if it's complete on schedule. And you can see that by hovering over these. If we were to change this to a different date, we could make it overdue. For example, if we were to change this, you can see now it's been marked as overdue, meaning that everyone is instantly on the same page. Great, so now that we've taken a look at the columns that we have by default, why don't we start adding in some extra ones? So we've done the status column, let's take a look at text. This is a really great column and it has lots of uses. You can use this to record any written information that we need to. It could be reference numbers, it could be locations, anything that you want. In our case today, this is going to be a quick place for us to add in any short notes that we need to know about that task. So we'll go ahead and we'll rename it to notes. And let's go ahead and add in a timeline column. Now, timeline is a little bit like our date column, except it's going to let us to assign a specific date range to each of our tasks. So we can do that by selecting the range of dates that we'd like, and we can just start popping those in. And you'll see that it's going to color in the timeline based on where we are. So if it's something in the past, it's going to fill in that time. And if it's still in the future, it's going to leave it black so that we can see exactly where we are within our timeline. So we'll just give these last two tasks a deadline and great, there we are. Now, this is going to come back into play a little bit later on in the session because We want our team to use this to see when they should be working on each stage of our campaign. And we're going to show you a little later how we go ahead and bring that to life. Now let's check out our tags column. Tags are a really great column because they allow you to create a set of hashtags that you can use to group items together. We can use this to tag our client's name, for example. So let's go ahead and create a surf school tag. And we can use this to tag all of our projects. We can even tag, if we wanted different types of projects, we can tag this as Facebook, for example. And the benefit of having the tags is that we'll easily be able to find these when we use our search everything, which we'll take a look at in a little bit later. That means that if we have lots of different projects running at different times, we can find them easily by searching for the relevant hashtags. It's going to show us everything across different boards that is relevant to that client. I should mention here that the tags are currently only included in the Pro and Enterprise levels of Monday.com. But if you want to give them a go and you haven't had a chance yet, get in touch with us and we'll be happy to add them for you as a trial. Now, the last column that we're going to go and add in here is our numbers column. Numbers can be used to track lots of different information. Today, we're going to use them to track the number of hours that we want to take on each of our projects. So let's just pop those in. And you can see that by default, it's going to start to summarize the numbers in each of my groups. So I can see that I'm going to need 6 hours for my planning phase, 7 for my development, and 6 for my launch. You can use these columns to track budgets. You can use them to track inventory, anywhere that you need to add numerical data. And we can click into this in the summary box and we can change what the summary box is doing for us. We can make it show us an average and we can even add in different currencies. But for today, I'm going to leave it as it is. So now we have our basic board set up with all of our 7 basic columns. Let's take a look at board views. And board views allow us to visualize our data in different ways. They're a great way to see information about your project in a quick glance. So let's go and take a look at the timeline view. And here we are. This is going to let us see the timeline for each task in a much more visual way. This makes it super easy to see the schedule of each task and how long the project is going to take to complete. And we can even drag and drop the tasks around within the timeline to adjust the tasks that are running late without needing to jump back onto the board. So maybe if we want to have our final review later, we can just drag it and it will be updated in the board. And we've recently released a feature that's going to power up our timeline even more. And that's in the settings. And it's our color by feature. Now, color by allows us to decide what we want the colors in the timeline view to represent. So right now we can see it's coloring by person, but let's change the color to status. Now we can instantly see what is ready, what is being worked on, and what is behind schedule. We have lots and lots of other amazing board views like charts, calendars, location, workload. If you're interested in these, you'll find out a lot more in our next 2 webinars in the series, so definitely stay tuned for those. Now, before we move on, let's also take a quick look at some of the options we have to keep our boards organized. And let's jump back onto our main table. So as your boards grow, you might find that you have lots of groups with many items in each group. So keeping your boards organized is essential. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that we can keep our boards organized. So let's say that we need to move something from our first group to our second group. If it's just a single item, so say our budget, we can easily drag and drop this between groups. What we can also do though is move multiple items. And to do that, we can select the items that we want to move. All we need to do is tick them and select Move To, and you'll see that we have 2 options here. We can decide whether to move our items to another group on the board or even to a completely different board. If we choose to move our items to another board, all we need to do is just make sure that it has all of the same information and the column names so that we don't lose any data when we move it over. And this makes it super, super simple to move items around within our account. We can also, just like with our item that we dragged and dropped earlier, we can do exactly the same thing with our columns and with our groups. So we can drag any of our columns and change the order that they appear in. This makes it super easy to customize the board to the exact order you'd like them to appear in. Now, we also have a really great feature called the archive. And again, as your account grows, you might start to find that some of your items or boards are no longer relevant, but maybe you're not quite ready to delete them just yet. This is exactly where the archive comes in. We can archive items, we can archive groups or boards. I'm going to show you how to do that. So if we want to archive an item, we can again click it and we'll get this menu up at the bottom, and we can select the archive. And let's go ahead and send that to the archive. Similarly, we can do the exact same thing with a whole group, and we can simply click on the down arrow here and send it to the archive. When we send something to an archive, we're going to send it to the archive indefinitely, and it's going to hide it from both our left panel over here and from the search. But they're still going to be accessible in the account indefinitely, so we can always restore them if we need to. So let's go and do that now. We can head over to our archived history and restore. And now we'll see that we have our items back on the board. You can also do this with whole boards by selecting the board and sending it to the archive. You can always unarchive it again via the option in the admin panel down here. So you may have guessed by now that at Monday.com, we love organizing, and we want it to be really, really easy for you to find the information you need. So we've seen how we can keep our boards organized, but let's take a look now on a bigger level at how we organize our account. So you may have seen along this left-hand side here that I have a panel which contains my workspaces. So currently we are in my marketing agency workspace. Workspaces are great because they allow you to have different areas for each of your teams, whilst allowing everyone to work in one account. This means that each team can concentrate on what's relevant to them while still enabling collaboration. You can choose to have your workspaces represent clients or projects. If that makes more sense for the way that you work, you can see here that I have my HR team in one of my workspaces and my marketing team in another. If we go ahead and jump into my HR team, you'll see that I have folders, and this is another way of organizing within our account. You can see that I have my 2020 folder and my 2021 folder. This means that I instantly know where I need to go to find what I'm looking for. And inside of each folder, you'll see that we have some boards set up. And as you might have just seen, we can click to expand or collapse our folders to customize what we want to see. Let's jump back over into our marketing agency. And what we can also do is favorite boards. And this is great for boards that you need to revisit often because it's going to make it really, really easy to find them. So if I want to favorite my board, I just click the star at the top. And now I can go over to my favorites and I will be able to find it instantly, saving you time and making sure that everyone knows exactly where the things are that they want to find. So as I mentioned, we're about transparency and communication, and we really want to make sure you're working as efficiently as possible. So not only is the platform where you're going to be planning and tracking your team's work, but it's also where you can talk about it. So first, let's take a look at how to invite a new member of our team to our account. Without having everyone in Monday.com, you won't be able to assign them work or communicate with them in context. So let's invite a member. Now, when we invite a member, we have a couple of options. We can add them as a member, and that is going to give them full access to everything in our account, or we can add them as a viewer. Now, likewise with viewers, they'll have access to all of our main boards, but they will only have read-only permissions, meaning that they won't be able to make any edits on our board. If we want to invite someone to a shareable board, like the board that we're working on, we would invite them here in our guests, because with our shareable boards, we're only inviting people to that one board. They won't be able to access anything else on our account unless we've invited them to it. So let's invite a new member to our team. And let's go ahead and send an invite. Great, now they've been invited to join our account. And let's have a look that now that they're on board, how we can communicate with them within our platform. So next to each item, you can see a small speech bubble, and this is where our update area lives. So let's go ahead and let's open it. Now I can communicate on a specific topic and easily find the conversation later on. No need to filter through long email chains. So we can go ahead and we can mention our new teammate. Let's just go ahead and mention them. And again, you can think of this like a social media mention. And as you've seen before, we can even mention a whole team in our update. And I'll show you in just a second how we set up teams. Now, when we mention someone like this, they're going to be notified via an email and also via our notification bell icon over here. And you can see that in our left-hand pane. Clicking the bell shows us our newest notifications. And we can also filter them to show what's unread, what was mentioned or assigned to us, meaning that we can always see the most relevant things. If you haven't already, like I said, I really recommend downloading our mobile app, which we have for both iOS and Android. Once you're set up, any bell notifications that you receive are also going to be sent as push notifications on your phone. So you're never going to miss an update from Monday, even when you're on the move. So I promised that I would go and show you how to make teams. So let's go and do that now. Let's go to the bottom left-hand corner and we're going to click on Teams. Now, when this loads up, you will see that I already have quite a few teams set up. And if I want to set up a new team, I can just select this at the top. So let's set up our new we have a social media team. Let's set up, let's set up a new social media team. And now that we have our team name, we can simply click here and start adding the relevant members of our team. So let's also invite Harry and Albus. And now if we go back, we can mention them within our board. We can even mention everyone on this item, everyone on this board, or all guests on this board. So if we mention everyone on this item, that will include me and Ron because we are the people that are assigned to it. So let's take a quick look at our inbox. This is where we can see all of our notifications in one place. So whilst the notification bell is really great at allowing us to view our notifications without leaving our board, our inbox allows us to see everything that's going on in all of the different boards that we're subscribed to. So you can see that we have lots and lots of different things that we can see here. We can see all updates. We can also filter them to show only specific boards if we want to. And we can mark these with a tick to show that we've read them. So we can also change our inbox view options here. We can see bookmarked updates. We can filter by specific boards if we only want to see relevant boards. We have lots of options to do that within our inbox. So now we've looked at how to build a board, how to communicate. Let's look at how we search and filter to find the most relevant data as quickly as possible. And as our boards get bigger and you add more and more boards to the account, you're going to want a quick way to easily find the information you're looking for. And the first thing that we can do is search within a board. This is great if you have lots and lots of rows or columns. Let's say we want to find any task that is a review meeting or a meeting. So we can search for meeting. Now it will only show me the items that are relevant to my search. I can even filter my board by person. So if I only want to see the tasks that I'm working on, I can select myself and it will filter it down to only what's relevant. I can even save it as a new view so I can always easily come back to it. We also have a great new filter that we can use to create more complicated searches. So maybe I only want to see anything where the status is working on it and where the person is assigned. This is going to show me all of my projects that are assigned to someone and are still being worked on. I could also change this to show me only what is not assigned, so I know where I have holes and where I need to assign people to tasks. And again, these can be saved as new views so that you can come back to them as many times as you need without needing to set them up. Great. So we are going to use views a lot. They're going to be super helpful, especially as your account begins to grow and you invite more and more people to your boards. And another great feature that we have is Search Everything, which you can find down here via the magnifying glass. What this allows us to do is use a super powerful search to search across all of the boards in our account. And when we started using our tags earlier, it means that we can search everything related to a client or a project, or if there's a task and you don't remember what board it was living on, this is the place to find it. So let's search for everything with Surf School. And this is going to show us anything that's relevant to Surf School. Now you can see that all of the relevant things are going to be pulled into the search. We can even search for different members in our team. So if we search for Ron, we'll be able to see everything that is assigned to him or anywhere that he's been mentioned across all of the boards on our account. We can even use this search to find files, specific tags, search through updates. It's a really great place to find what we need. So one other thing that we'll take a look at, and it's very quickly, is our automations. And you may have noticed this little robot icon up at the top of the board. That is where our automations live. So if we open this, we'll see that we have our automations that are on our board and we have our automation center. Now, automations are an amazing way to supercharge your board. They allow you to leave the repetitive manual actions to us, meaning that you have more time to focus on the important stuff. We'll only touch on these briefly today, but if you want to learn more, definitely check out the intermediate and advanced webinars where we dig into them in a lot more detail. I also recommend having a play around with them in your own time, as they are one of the coolest aspects of the platform. And we have a huge range of automations available. So now that we have the Automation Center open, you'll see that there are a lot of automation recipes. Now, every automation consists of a trigger, like the changing of a status, and that causes an action, like the notification of someone on a team, which is the automation that you can see here. And we can see that our automations are split down into different recipe types along the left-hand side. If you want to get started with automations today and you don't want to wait to attend the live webinars, I suggest checking out an automations focused webinar, and you can find that on demand. It's monday.com/webinars/on-demand. There are 2 webinars that are solely on automations and will make you an automation pro. If we jump back to our board, you'll see that we have another menu, and this lives next to our automations, and this is our integrations. This is where we can set up syncing with other platforms, and this is going to also massively power up what your board can do. Again, something that we go over in the intermediate and the advanced webinar, so I definitely recommend checking it out to see how you can integrate your boards with lots of different other platforms. Now, let's go and take a look at our board settings. And this is a menu that we can use to customize different things on our board. So we can do things, for example, like set up board permissions. And this allows us to decide what different members on this board can do. So whether they can edit everything, maybe they can only edit content, maybe they can only edit the rows that are assigned to them. This means that they can only edit things relevant to them, and everything else on the board will remain view only. But for now, let's leave it as edit everything again. We also have a number of different other things that you can find here. So again, you can find our archive in here. You can change your board type directly from here. And it's a really great menu to have a look through. Another important experience to customize your Monday.com is in the bottom left-hand corner here. This is where you can customize your profile, like so. Set your time zone, your preferences, your notifications. And if you're an admin, this is where you can make account-wide changes. Now, one question that we get a lot, it surrounds security. So I want to go ahead and jump in and show you guys our Trust Center. We always want to be as transparent with you guys as possible, and the Trust Center is our hub for all of our security certificates. You can find it really easily. It's monday.com/trust center. So if you're looking to find out more about HIPAA compliance, or if you're based in the EU and you want to learn more about GDPR, this is definitely the place. So we are almost about ready to jump into the Q&A. But before we do that, let's take a look at the resources available. Now, we can easily jump into our resources using the question mark button, and this is going to load up this screen. And we have a couple of different options when it comes to resources. If you want to quickly find our library of webinars and our upcoming webinars, you can use this button here. You can see quick tutorial videos on lots of different things in the platform. And you may have noticed as well this search bar here. So if something piqued your interest today and you want to know a little bit more about it, this is a great place to start. For example, let's say you wanted to learn more about the timeline. You can simply type in timeline and you'll see that we have videos, FAQs, lots of different things relevant to the timeline. You can also get in contact with us at support directly from here by clicking on Contact Us. If you do this, it's going to load up this form and you can let us know your topic, any questions that you have, upload files, and you can choose your support speed. If you choose awesome support, we're going to get back to you in an hour. And if you select drop everything and answer me, it's going to be within 10 minutes. And we are here for you 24/7. We span all time zones, so we are always here for you. And a couple of other places, like we said, support@monday.com, the knowledge base that we showed you through the search bar, but also our community. And you can find our community at community.monday.com, where you can speak with other Monday users and champions, find out what's coming up on the platform, discuss what you'd like to see. It's a great place to get a bit more information on the platform there. So that is about to go ahead and wrap up the first half of this session. This is the walkthrough. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I hope that it's given you something to think about, some places to get started. And thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you're ready, I encourage you to carry on and join us for the intermediate webinar and the advanced webinar. We're going to pick off exactly where we left off, so you'll know. Yeah, you'll be able to jump straight in. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a lovely day.